To understand why the USS Abraham Lincoln matters, you have to ignore the headlines and look at the operational record. USS Abraham Lincoln, CVN-72, the 5th Nimitz-class aircraft carrier. Inside the ship, stamped into steel, is a simple phrase: "Shall not perish." For over 3 decades, that hasn't been a slogan, it's been a track record. In 2020, the Lincoln remained at sea for 295 consecutive days. Let that sink in. No port visits, no extended maintenance breaks, just sustained high-tempo operations. For comparison, China's carriers typically max out around 90 days before refueling. Russia's carrier hasn't deployed in years and caught fire while docked. Even Britain's newest carriers rotate on 6-month schedules. The Lincoln stayed deployed for 10 straight months while maintaining 24/7 flight operations and full combat readiness. That isn't endurance, that's dominance. But the ship operating today is not the same ship launched in 1989. Between 2013 and 2017, the U.S. Navy carried out a refueling and complex overhaul, known as RCOH, a 4-year, $3 billion transformation. The carrier was cut open, nuclear fuel cores removed, miles of wiring and piping stripped out, entire systems erased and rebuilt from the keel up. Outdated copper lines were replaced with fiber optics. New sensors were installed, systems that didn't even exist when the ship was designed. Most importantly, the Lincoln became the first Nimitz-class carrier optimized specifically for the F-35C. Not adapted, optimized. Jet blast deflectors were reinforced for extreme heat. Secure mission planning spaces were built directly into the hull. Data systems were upgraded to support 5th-generation stealth warfare. What emerged wasn't a refit, it was a transformation. And that mattered because this carrier is combat-proven. Less than 2 years ago, while operating in the Red Sea, Iranian-backed Houthi forces launched anti-ship ballistic missiles at commercial shipping. These weren't drills. These were real missiles with real trajectories. The Lincoln's strike group intercepted them, multiple times, under live combat conditions. So when orders came to surge from the Pacific to the Persian Gulf, this wasn't theory. This crew already knew what incoming fire looks like on a radar screen. Powered by 2 nuclear reactors, the Lincoln has unlimited range. It covered 4,500 nautical miles in just 8 days without slowing down. But speed is only the delivery system. The real weapon is parked on the flight deck. Carrier Air Wing 9, 75 aircraft. At the center of it, 10 F-35C Lightning II stealth fighters. But stealth alone isn't enough anymore. Iran understands this. That's why it integrated the Rezonans-NE radar into its air defense network. Unlike traditional targeting radars, this system uses very high-frequency, long-wavelength signals. In theory, those waves can detect stealth aircraft by inducing resonance across wings and tail surfaces. On paper, it sounds like a counter to stealth. But here's the reality. Detection is not targeting. The Rezonans-NE radar can indicate something is out there, a rough direction, and approximate distance. But it cannot guide a missile. To actually shoot, Iran must hand off that contact to high-frequency fire control radars like those used by the S-300 system. And that's the moment the U.S. Navy's kill chain activates. Electronic Attack Squadron 133, flying the EA-18G Growler. For this deployment, they're equipped with the next-generation jammer. This isn't blanket noise, it's precision electronic warfare. The system identifies specific radar frequencies, isolates them, and floods them with false data. Here's how it plays out. The long-range radar detects a disturbance. It tries to cue a fire control system. Before a targeting solution can form, the Growlers jam the link. The fire control radar is blinded instantly. Iranian operators are left with a blurry contact and no way to shoot. Meanwhile, the F-35Cs stay passive. They emit nothing. Instead, they use enemy radar emissions to triangulate exact locations. The hunter becomes the target. Coordinates are passed, strikes can come from standoff weapons or even from escorting destroyers. Stealth doesn't win alone. Integration does. Once the radar network collapses, the strike phase begins. 3 Super Hornet squadrons launch, dozens of aircraft carrying hundreds of thousands of pounds of precision ordnance. Command centers, missile sites, naval facilities. This is distributed lethality, not invisibility, but system-level collapse. Overhead, an E-2D Advanced Hawkeye coordinates everything. Its radar tracks hundreds of targets at once. It manages the entire air battle. This isn't air superiority, this is air dominance, so complete that resistance becomes ineffective. Of course, none of this matters if the carrier itself is vulnerable. That's where the defensive screen comes in. 3 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers escort the Lincoln. Together, they form a layered missile shield. Nearly 300 vertical launch cells loaded for the mission. Tomahawk cruise missiles for deep strikes. SM-3 interceptors for ballistic threats. SM-6 missiles for aircraft, cruise missiles, and fast attack boats. Their combat systems are networked. One ship can fire using another ship's radar. Iran's strategy relies on saturation, overwhelming defenses with numbers. Aegis was designed for exactly that. If dozens of missiles launch at once, the system classifies, prioritizes, and assigns interceptors in seconds. Missiles are destroyed mid-flight. Launch sites are exposed. Command nodes are marked. The cost of firing is catastrophic. That's deterrence through math, and Iran understands it. That understanding was on full display during a transit through one of the world's busiest choke points. As the carrier moved through congested waters, an Iranian-flagged cargo vessel appeared nearby, matching speed, maintaining position. Everyone knew what was happening. Sensors recorded, photographs taken, patterns observed. And the response? Nothing. Because the message wasn't secrecy, it was transparency. This is what's coming. This is what you would face. Iran saw everything and chose restraint. That's victory without a shot fired. Nowhere is this balance more critical than the Strait of Hormuz, just 21 miles wide, yet carrying nearly 20% of the world's oil supply. Iran has spent decades building an anti-access strategy, missiles, fast boats, mines. But the presence of a carrier strike group changes the equation. Stealth aircraft map launch sites, command nodes become visible the moment they activate. If the strait is threatened, the response doesn't start at sea, it starts inland. The cost of disruption becomes permanent damage to Iran's own defenses. That's deterrence by denial. Not preventing action through threats, but making success impossible. So why the Lincoln? Because when global stability is on the line, you don't send an experiment. You send what's proven. A carrier rebuilt for 5th-generation warfare. A crew that has already intercepted live missiles. A ship that has shown it can operate nearly a year at sea without breaking. Shall not perish means more than survival. It means global trade keeps moving. Energy flows. Flights take off. Not by chance, but by capability.
If this breakdown gave you a new perspective, subscribe to our channel for more deep dive analysis like this. Because in today's world, presence is deterrence. A carrier strike group doesn't need to fire a shot to change the equation. It only needs to arrive. Capability is proof. Proof of readiness, of resolve, and of the ability to respond faster than any rival expects. The USS Abraham Lincoln wasn't rushed to the Persian Gulf by accident. It was a signal to allies, to adversaries, and to anyone watching the chessboard shift in real time. A reminder that power projection isn't about headlines, it's about timing. Some lines aren't written on maps, they're enforced at sea, sustained by logistics, air wings, and sailors on constant watch. And as long as that presence remains, the balance holds. And this is why the line holds.